Do you know your rights when it comes to the law? Here to help answer some commonly asked questions is attorney at law with the legal team, Lusk, Drasites Tolisano, Leon Walsh Jr., a civil litigation lawyer. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Well, we were talking during the break, everybody at some point signs a contract in their life. Somewhere at some point. I think we've all pretty much been there, which is really where you step in. And for the record, I have to state, I am not an attorney, so that's why we bring in the experts. But when it comes to litigation, explain what that is. I think a lot of people might be confused on what it is.
Certainly. Well, litigation in itself is a means of resolving disputes. Usually at some point, if there is a dispute amongst a contract, a party might have to resort to the court system to figure out that dispute and a means to remedy the situation. The litigation itself is usually commenced by filing a complaint with the clerk of courts. And after filing the complaint, you have to provide the opposing party with notice of that complaint by serving them with it. From there, the opposing party would have to respond to the allegations, whether they admit or deny the allegations in there. And from after their response, the parties will engage in the discovery process. And the discovery process, more or less, is a means of figuring out relevant information that might assist either party in pursuing the claim or defending the action. And
this sounds pretty lengthy. How long does a suit actually take from start to finish?
Well, every case is different. It all depends on the facts and circumstances, but here in Lee County and other counties across the state, they do have timelines and goals to hopefully resolve these disputes. So there's really no definite answer. I mean, some cases get resolved via settlement, and in those circumstances, obviously, that would end the case right then and there.
Leon, give us some examples. I know there are a lot of mistakes that we can all make, especially if we're in a hurry nowadays. You're signing a contract, you want something done, you just sign it away. But what are some common mistakes that maybe people run across?
Well, I think first and foremost, most people don't actually read some of the contracts in their entirety.
I've been there.
Yeah, certainly. It's sometimes it's just whether or not you don't have much time or you don't really think much about it. But usually, a lot of circumstances, people need to really read the terms so they know what rights they're giving up, if they are giving up certain rights, and they need to understand their obligations pursuant to the agreement as well, if there's a contract in place.
Another thing that people should be aware of is the statute of limitations. What is that?
Well, absolutely. The statute of limitation basically determines when a party must bring a certain action. For example, if it's based upon a written instrument, well, usually in Florida there's a 4-year statute of limitations. So if you fall, say after 5 years, you decide you want to bring this action, resolve this issue.
Too late?
Well, it could potentially be too late. There are some exceptions to the rules. Like most of the rules, there's usually exceptions, but the statute of limitations is something just to be cognizant and aware of. So if you do have something, you can bring the action sooner than later, and it may not be barred if you bring it up within the statute of limitations. Explain
arbitration as well.
Well, arbitration is usually there's clause in certain contracts that it's a means of resolving dispute. And instead of the court process and filing a lawsuit, some contracts will have arbitration provisions where a arbitrator, it could be a single or a panel of arbitrators, will resolve the dispute for you. Businesses, a lot of contracts will have arbitration clauses in there. Which means that, instead of even filing a lawsuit, you'll have to resort to an arbitration to resolve the dispute in hand.
And you find a lot of times when you are consulting with someone that you might even send them to small claims. Maybe a big civil suit isn't even worth it or necessary at some points, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, doing a cost-benefit analysis, well, it's going to cost me more to retain an attorney. Well, in those circumstances, if the amount in controversy is less than $5,000, you can go through the small claims process. And it's really designed to give people a means of resolving their disputes. It doesn't have the rigorous rules of civil procedure, so it's a means for proceeding without having an attorney in some circumstances.
Why is it important to offer these services, to your clients? I know a lot of people face these situations. They're not sure what to do, but why would you say it's important to maybe just pick up the phone, ask a few questions?
Well, You know, a lot of times people come to me after a dispute arises.
Yeah.
You know, and people, you know, looking at hindsight, realize, oh, I wish I would have came here before, because, you know, I can help review contracts so people understand what their rights and obligations are, and also understand what rights they're giving up. For example,
is it too late at that point? I mean, if they go through with it and decide, oh, that didn't turn out the way that I wanted, is it still a better idea to talk to you, and maybe are there things that maybe you can go back and change, or?
Well, absolutely. A lot of times, you know, there are, you know, legal nuances to certain contracts. You know, a lot of times there may be provisions that aren't even legal under the law. So, you know, by having an opportunity to review the contract in terms of the agreement, you know, certain times there are means to kind of resolve the dispute afterwards, you know, that an average person may not really be aware of.
I say always ask questions. It can be a little confusing, obviously, which is why it's so nice to have someone like you to call. We've got to go here, but we have a special offer that Leon would like to extend real quick. The first 10 callers to mention the Morning Blend will receive a free consult regarding any legal matter, so certainly take advantage of that. Leon, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll go ahead and send it over to Carly.
All right, back problems bringing you down. Up next, debunking myths when it comes to spinal care.